Welcome to another video, guys. Almost 4 days have passed since the new meta came out, and HS Replay Premium really is showing everything you need to know about what the best decks in the game are right now. So in this video I'm gonna show you 5 of the best decks, talk about the mulligans, win rates, as well as some general tips so you know what to do with and against those decks. And we're also gonna check out all of the other working archetypes for each individual class so you guys know what your options are. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, a like and subscribe would really be appreciated, and don't forget you can also hire me for some Hearthstone coaching. Now let's get into it.
You are not prepared.
Before we get into the decks, I'd like to remind you I started my very own new Raid Shadow Legends channel, where I do my best to give you top quality raid content as well, and I've already uploaded quite a few videos, but we're still only at 322 subscribers, so I'd really appreciate it if you check out the channel, and also check out the game if you still haven't. I can tell you the game is much better than you might think, even if you've tried it a few years ago. The game is really different. I tried it 3 years ago and I didn't really like it, but I also gave it a shot 2 years ago and I haven't dropped it since. Right now they have a 6-year anniversary and there's some pretty huge events going on, so it would be the perfect time for you guys to start a new account, because they're also giving away so many free legendaries, especially if you use my download link. Also, for the first time ever, they're actually giving away a free Void legendary, which is literally unheard of, in your first 24 hours of your new account, just by using the promo code Supreme6 by the end of March. So you have a few days to decide if you actually want to pick up Raid and really start smashing hard, even from day one, with this amazing legendary champion. And like I said, if you use my download link, you're also gonna get your hands on the legendary champion Corrado, as well as one of the top epic support champions in the game, Ugo. So I would really hope to see you on the battlefield. But now, let's get into the decks. The first deck on the list is going to be Zerk Token Hunter, and this deck has been doing some amazing things. Like, it's not even funny how much games this thing has, with above 65% win rate. The deck is super strong and fast, and it actually does well against Armor Demon Hunters, which was the deck to beat, and it's all around a super quick and easy time climbing with this thing. You have several of the good egg cards in here, including the Extraterrestrial Egg, the Nerubian Egg, as well as the Terrible Chef. We also have some other good Death Rattle cards like Workhorse, and also this spell is super cool, the Amphibian Spirit, which gives a minion +2/+2, and Death Rattle give a friendly minion +2/+2, and this Death Rattle. And I gotta be honest, the first time I read this card, for some reason I thought it's actually gonna be giving this Death Rattle, aka the entire Death Rattle the card has. For instance, if you put this on a Nerubian Egg, I actually thought it would be giving another minion +2/+2 and summon a 4/4, but no, that's not what the card does. It's giving this Death Rattle, which is the +2/+2, so do not expect to be getting absolutely crazy things like that. But it is still a very, very strong card, because you're very tokeny, you're very sticky on the board, so this card really does help a lot for decks like this, and you could be doing this on, let's say, one of the eggs, and also use your new core card Terror Scale to actually trigger both the Death Rattles that way. So not only are you going to give another random minion +2/+2, but you're also going to summon yourself a 4/4. Another thing that's pretty important for this card is the order in which you actually play your cards. Like, for instance, if you have an egg on the board and then you play Amphibious Spirit on one of the cards, if the opponent actually kills the entire board, let's say with a Ceaseless Expanse, so everything dies, the order in which the Death Rattles were on the board is the order in which they're going to be triggering. So it's very important to have a Death Rattle egg card on the board, or let's say the Workhorse, in order for your Amphibious actually to land on something, because if you play Amphibious first, let's say on a Zergling, and then you play an egg, and the opponent clears everything, that means that the +2/+2 Death Rattle is going to resolve first, and there's going to be no target for it, because after that the egg is going to summon itself with a 4/4. So definitely pay attention to the order in which you play your cards. We also have things like Evolution Chambers in here, which is pretty nutty. If you start off the game with a Zergling on turn 1, you get to follow up with Evolution on 2, and suddenly you have a couple of free 2s on the board, which is very hard to deal with for most that early. We have Hydralisk for a lot of extra damage that way, and we also have RC Rampage, which is ideal to be played when there's 3 spots left on the board, so you can actually get 12/12 worth of stats for 4 mana, but also if there's 4 spots, it's also pretty nice. You could even use it just to get a couple of 5/5s. It's still actually a pretty valid strategy if you're expecting the opponent to be able to deal with 4 damage or less. But if 5 damage is going to be hard for them, then you kind of want to be going for the 5/5s, but yeah, basically be flexible about it. And we also have things like Ziliax in here, who is with the Pylon and Ticking module. It's still good enough, no more health cheated that way, but getting the extra attack is still kind of worth it. Matchup-wise, here's what we have. Literally no bad matchups. Like, the only bad matchup would be actually Location Warlock, which is the reason why this is also another deck on this top 5, spoiler alert. Yeah, all around, Hunter is absolutely farming right now. Like, look at how green this is. We have a couple of 50s, and the only bad one would be the Warlock, so climbing really should not be an issue. As for the mulligan, here's what the stats are showing. I will be giving you a detailed guide about this deck tomorrow, or maybe it's just gonna be gameplay. I mean, this guide turned out detailed enough if you ask me. And here's what it looks like going first. You want the egg, the location, Zergling ain't too bad. If you have an egg already, you could consider a Stalker. Amphibious is pretty nice if you already have a good curve going. The Terrible Chef could be nice, the other egg is also fine, that kind of stuff. If you're curving out, the Workhorse also ain't bad. And on the coin, again, plenty of the same stuff, so mulligan accordingly. For other good Hunter decks, we actually have plenty to choose from, and this is the one I'm showing you. 72,000 games, this is literally unheard of, with 65% win rate, absolutely broken. But we can also see some other Hunters doing quite well. Here's a weird list with Furious Fowls, for instance, some hand buff nonsense. I'm not really sure what this is about, but it definitely looks kind of promising with small sample size, however. Discover Hunter is super strong with the giant package, and pros are actually calling this deck to be the most broken thing right now because turn free a bunch of giants is pretty broken. I gave you guys a video about Imbue Hunter, and that one is pretty nice against the Armor Demon Hunters, even though those feel like they're falling off in popularity right now. So yeah, Hunter definitely has a lot of different variations working amazingly well for it right now, so you have plenty of options to choose from. Like I said, Location Warlock is also absolutely broken right now, and that's the reason why this is the deck on the number 2 spot. And the main reason why this deck is so good is because it beats the deck on the number 1 spot. And as you saw, it beats it very, very well. This Location Warlock is super strong because it does, again, cheat out a bunch of Sea Giants quite fast. And it also cheats out extra Ultralisk Cavern 8/8s super fast as well. It's quite interesting of a iteration of the deck. This one actually does have a little bit more removal for the board, it seems. I did try something similar on the last stream. I will be giving you a video probably on Monday about this one. And yeah, we have a couple of Hellfires in here, of all people. We also have a couple of table flips, a ceaseless, so that would be your card removal. You also have a few not so hard removals with the Ultralisk doing 1 damage AoE, which is definitely not bad against a bunch of tokens. We even have Mortal Coils, which is kind of weird if I gotta be honest. Dreadhound Counter is gonna help you a little bit with the removal, but the main gist of it, like I said, is actually getting a bunch of 8/8s super quick, and the way you do that is by playing a bunch of locations. A cool thing that this deck has is the Scrapbook Student. And the reason why this guy is so cool is you could either use this on a very big Horizon's Edge location without using it, effectively getting 30 damage from the help of this thing through all the charges. On the other side of the spectrum, you could also use it on a last 0 ability Ultralisk Caverns. And this way you actually get to summon yourself a couple of 8/8s nice and quick. And the other way you could actually get a couple of 8/8s nice and quick would be with the help of Summoner Dark Marrow. Because this guy actually does trigger this thing's Death Rattle twice, which is pretty huge. You don't play him to actually play a Death Rattle minion. Like, you kind of could. Like, I guess you could play the Rothhard Dryad. That's also going to be a pretty valid play with Summoner. But the main gist of the idea here is, not only does this guy allow you to be running Death Knight cards, but also it's pretty awesome using it on the Ultralisk Caverns, because you're going to get a couple of 8/8s like that for free. And you could even maximize both of these things. Like, you could actually play this thing when you're on the last charge on the Ultralisk, but not use it, and then play out a Summoner and use both the Ultralisk, and that's gonna give you a couple of 8/8s from each, which is absolutely broken. So yeah, that's the gist of the deck. You can either kill the opponent with a lot of 8/8s, or you could kill him with a lot of Horizon Edge ticks, especially with the help of your spawning pools. Like, as soon as you get yourself rush on the 1/1 Zerglings, you could just start blasting with these machine guns, and you also have Kerrigan at the end for some extra Hive Queen nonsense. So yeah, the deck is really that strong, and you could be taking it to different gears depending on what you need. Matchup wise, here's what we have. Terran Warrior and Leech Death Knight might be a problem, but as you saw, Hunter is going to be easy work for you. Armor Demon Hunter is a little bit on the positive for you, and the rest pretty good. Mulligan wise, you're going to be looking for locations more than anything else. The Rothhard ain't too bad, Nidus Worm's okay, depending on the matchup, Dreadhound might be worth. I would not be holding this thing against the Demon Hunter, for instance. Same can be said for Mortal Coil. And I guess the Mortal Coil is in here so you can actually kill off your own Dryad, if we gotta be completely honest. Like, it's not the worst idea in the world, I guess, but you could also be using it for the opponent's stuff if there's merit for it. And on the coin, again, you can see plenty of the same stuff, so choose accordingly. For other good Warlock decks, there is also this Wallow variant of Warlock, but as you can see, it's a lot worse than what we're seeing right now. This is the variant I'm showing you, I do believe. Yes, with the double Mortal Coil, 63%, 2700 games, and we have plenty of other iterations with very respectable sample sizes and win rates, so definitely plenty of options for amazing decks for Warlock right now. But as you can see, Wallow Warlock was actually looking pretty promising on the first meta report, but right now it's absolute dog water, so that's the risk of early game meta reports. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're dead wrong, and I guess this time they were not exactly right now, were they? And we can see some absolute dog water decks at the bottom as well, so yeah, stick with location, I'd say. On the number 3 spot, Protoss Priest has absolutely been crushing it too, and again, I think the reason here is this deck actually does quite well against Armor Demon Hunters. And this is a very traditional Protoss Priest, if we gotta be honest. Does it even run any new cards? I don't think so. So yeah, if you actually did not buy yourself the new expansion, if you didn't open too many packs, this deck is actually working as intended with literally 0 new cards. I have been doing videos about this type of deck before, so you could check that one out, I guess, but I guess this one is slightly different. We do have a couple of overzealous healers, which you could be actually fishing out with the help of your fishing rod. Just don't forget these things silence themselves when you cast a spell, so if you decide to spell burst them with something like a Power Word Shield or Orbital Halo, well, yeah, you are gonna silence them, but you're also gonna silence the buff, so that'd be pretty stupid. And the reason why we still are running Trusty Fishing Rod, despite only having a couple of 1-drops, is you could actually get yourself more 1-drops with the help of things like Sentry, Photon Cannon, that kind of stuff. Because as soon as you play 1 Photon Cannon and kill something with it, Sentries become also 1-drops for you. And as soon as you kill a Sentry, then your Void Rays become 1-drops, which is also pretty solid to fish out with the help of the Fishing Rod. So definitely pay attention to what you have discounted with what, because if you discount more than once, Sentries no longer get pulled, and if you discount it more than 3 times, neither would the Void Rays. We also have Chillin' Vol'jin, and he can be doing some absolutely broken things with the help of your Charged Zealots. Because if the opponent is, let's say, right now 8/8 Giants are super popular, if they play an 8/8, let's say on turn 8, you could actually do something broken, like play your 4-mana Chrono Boost, use Chillin' Vol'jin to steal the 8 damage from the Giant and give it to your Zealot, and after that you could even copy it with Hallucination, so that would be 16 damage like that, or even 24 if you have both Hallucinations on turn 9. Other than that, we obviously also have Artanis in here for some major discounts, and some Zealots as well, and the Motherships at the end give you some absolutely broken stuff more often than not. You could be copying these with the help of things like Hallucinations. We no longer have that 2-mana spell that gives you a copy, sadly. And you could also use the Hallucinations on the Sentries as well. It wouldn't be the worst idea in the world, so you can get your Motherships nice and quick. And we even have a couple of Librarians in here, so you can actually silence some Starship pieces or straight up Starships themselves. And Narain Sue Fancy also is going to help you with a little bit of an extra card draw. Matchup-wise, here's what the situation is looking like. Location Warlock and Zerg Token Hunter are not going to be your friends, and same can be said for Protoss Rogue, but as you see, Armor Demon Hunter is not gonna be that big a problem for you at all. So again, if you're facing too many of these, if you're sick of them, if you really wanna make your life miserable, this is also a great deck to be playing with. As for the mulligan, here's what we can see. Going first, you are going to be looking for the Sentries, for the Fishing Rod, for the Overzealous. Photon Cannon ain't the worst, Bird Watching's pretty nice, and Chrono Boost is also pretty good. As for on the coin, again, we can see similar situations, and here is actually kind of fine. You could be doing a lot of extra summons, but I don't know, it's kind of a weird card. If you don't have this guy, I'd say you could try the deck without him for sure. For other Priest decks, here's what the situation looks like. This is the one I'm showing you, super popular, super good win rate. We could also scroll down a little and see this variant right here. Again, a different iteration of Protoss Priest with some of the illusory green wings. Basically here you can see some options if you don't have some of the legendaries, I'd say. Zarumi Priest is also playable, it seems, and also some people have been having success with faster aggro priest, I think. This Tyrande variant is also looking kind of promising with very small sample size, however, it's some kind of pain priest. So yeah, there are options for priest. None of them look particularly priesty though, so I think that's a good thing. I don't know, I'm gonna say it's a good thing. On the number 4 spot, Leech Death Knight is still a pretty solid deck, and everybody has been enjoying playing it quite a lot, and not so much enjoying playing against it. This is a Starship-oriented Leech Death Knight, and it's definitely pretty good. I have tried it myself with good results. And yeah, the Hideous Husks are quite strong indeed. This variant also is abusing some Reborn shenanigans, so you can get yourself extra card draw with the Baron, extra idiots out of the Soulbound Sprite, from the Arcanite, that kind of stuff. It's kind of crazy, this deck is not even running the Rusher, by the way, like, what is that even? Like, really feel like Dreadhound Handler is an absolute unit of a card, so if you're missing some of the cards, you can definitely include a couple of those. We do have, obviously, the good Leech package with the Breath, with the Infestation, with the Husks, and you could be discovering extra Husks or extra of the spells themselves with the help of some of your discoverers in the deck. It's kind of weird that Xavius is not even a part of this deck. I really feel like that guy is super broken, but I don't know, I guess this one has been working best so far. And at the end we have things like Horseman, like Kill Jaden, Exodar for some potential OTKs, and Ceaseless Expanse, as strong as ever. Matchup wise, we don't have that much stats, but Armored Demon Hunter is not gonna be your friend, and I really don't understand how some people are telling me Leech Death Knight is a good matchup for Armored Demon Hunter. Yeah, it is for Armored Demon Hunter, but Leech Death Knights are losing the shit against them, so I don't know about that. And matchup-wise, here's what we also can see so far. Going first, you are going to be looking for the good starship pieces, for your Brittle Bone, for the card draw. A couple of ants on turn 1 ain't nothing wrong with that. Infested Breath could be okay, but it really comes down to the matchup. Guiding Figure is also okay. It is a starship piece after all, so it's not necessarily something you want to be spell bursting with straight up. You could just tempo it out as a free to. Sanguine Infestation, if you're curving into it, definitely could be great, and same can be said for the Arcanite Defense Crystal. On the coin, plenty more of the same stuff, so mulligan accordingly. Here's what the situation looks like for Death Knight up close, and I think this is the variant I'm showing you. The sample size is definitely not as high as some other variants, but the win rate is pretty good, and the sample size is decently good. We can see some other iterations. Here's a very interesting one with double blue, one red. I haven't seen any of that for now, so that definitely looks quite interesting. It's some kind of a tokeny Frost Death Knight with Marrow at the end. Plenty of other iterations of the double red, one green, but they're all basically relying on the leeches, so yeah, definitely look for some leeches in your Death Knights nowadays. They call it Leech King for a reason, after all. And at the end, obviously, we still do have Armored Demon Hunter. This deck has been an absolute nightmare in the game right now. Like, it really kind of ruined the first few days of the expansion, not gonna lie. It's basically you either play this deck or you play against it kind of deal. And yeah, right now, as you saw, almost all of the decks are hard countering this deck, because if they're not, they're probably not winning much. We can see it definitely got toned down lately. Now it's at a more reasonable 60-ish% win rate, I'd say. But the sample size rate is still kind of broken. Like, there's so many iterations of this thing and they're all working pretty well. I'm not going to talk too much about this one in particular. This is the absolutely most popular variant with above 60,000 games and a pretty decent win rate. And yeah, the main gist of it is it's running a couple of Shatter Shard turrets, which is not something we have seen in every single variant. I mean, now we kind of do, but in the first day it wasn't actually a part of most. We do have 3 damage AoE Infiltrate. We do have a couple of Immolation Auras, so you can deal with early game aggression from some faster decks, but the rest is pretty much standard stuff. Matchup-wise, here's what it's looking like. Dungar Druid, of all people, apparently is good. I haven't seen a single one of those in the game, though. Imbue Hunter is wrecking you, Zerg Token Hunter is wrecking you, all of the Shamans are actually brutal against you too. I guess they can just evolve or hex your big things. Zarimi Priest can be pretty good, and Protoss Priest was shown as pretty good. Right now this one shows it's not. It's kind of weird, but stats are wonky like that from time to time. And also Terran Warrior, not so hot. Mulligan-wise, here's what it is. Going first, you want your weapon, you want the Arcanite, card draw through this thing, the Shattered Turret ain't bad, and Eladari could be okay, even though it's nothing to write home about in most cases. And on the coin, plenty of the same stuff again, so look for the weapon and the Arcanite and ways to get it quickly. For other good Demon Hunter decks, there's also this weird big Demon Hunter deck out there, looking pretty interesting. It has a lot more Starship action going in it. It's actually kind of faster. Like, why is this called big even? This cannot be big Demon Hunter. It's more like aggro burn Demon Hunter or something like that, because it's much faster it seems. So kind of weird naming there. HS replay. Plenty of different iterations of Armor Demon Hunter, obviously. And we're gonna have to scroll quite a lot to see something different. Here's something a little bit different, which is a Menagerie Death Knight. Kind of interesting with the Ball Hog. So it's a bit faster, I guess. Decent samples, decent win rate, small sample size though. And yeah, plenty more of the Armor Demon Hunters basically. So that's gonna be it for the top 5 decks. Now let's look at the classes we haven't mentioned yet. And starting off with Druid, not that much has been happening for Druid right now. Apparently Dungar Druid is working with some very different variation of the deck. It's looking kind of interesting, sitting at 54 win rate. As you saw, it's doing well against Armor Demon Hunters, so that's kind of interesting. But as you can see, Imbue Druid is absolute dog water for now. For mages, they actually have some interesting iterations with decent win rate but small sample size. The first big sample size deck would be something like Rally Imbue Mage. We can also see straight up Imbue Mage, Protoss Imbue Mage, all kinds of imbues basically. And this one seems to be the most popular right now with decent-ish win rate, but nothing that amazing so far. For Paladins, Menagerie Paladin apparently is doing quite well. It's definitely a decent tier 2 deck, so if you're itching to play some Pally action, this might be the deck for you. It looks like a Flood Menagerie Pally basically. Like, this card is actually kind of broken. If you have a bunch of things on the board, this basically is a +9/+9, and it also has a free body. Imbue Pally is borderline playable, but the rest not so much. For Rogues, Protoss Rogue has been doing quite well against Armor Demon Hunters, so it had that going for it. And we can also see some iterations of Bounce Rogue doing kind of fine, but not really that fine it seems. I think the deck is kind of hard to play, so these stats might not be super accurate for it just yet. But yeah, you do have some options for Rogues as well. With Shamans, there is this small sample size Terran Shaman at the top, looking kind of weird, kind of interesting though. It does run some Nebula action into it as well. And we also have a straight-up Nebula Shaman with not so much Starship action. Like, there has no Starship action in this one, actually. And it is running some of the Imbue package here as well. But yeah, for now, those would be the 2 options, it seems. And they're both not exactly super top tier, but they actually do have climb potential. And lastly we have Warrior, and here we have some Terran Warriors at the top, which are looking quite interesting. This one is running the Drake for some extra damage from the new expansion. We also have some other iterations with more Terran stuff included, but it seems that the Dragon variants of this deck are not doing so hot so far. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this top 5 meta report, guys. Hope this helps you figure out what you want to be playing in the new meta, and if the video helped you, a like and subscribe would really be appreciated. Don't forget to check out raids from my download link, as well as my new Raid Shadow Legends channel. Thanks for watching, I'm Kris, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.